Welcome to the Victorian Parent Council VPC Parent Podcast Series. VPC is a registered charity organisation dedicated to everyone who support parents in educating their children. I'm Jackie Vanderveld, your host today. It's my great pleasure to welcome Glenn Melvin. Glenn, welcome.
Thanks very much, Jackie. It's my pleasure to be here.
Glenn, can you maybe introduce yourself? I think that's always a lovely way to start.
I'm a clinical psychologist and associate professor at the School of Psychology at Deakin University, where I do research and teach on the issues around adolescent mental health, including school refusal.
Glenn, are there strategies and actions parents can use at home to assist their child who might be going through this school refusal issue?
Yes, certainly, Jackie. There's, I think, a lot that can be done. I guess I'd like to start by suggesting that parents really need to be working with their child and their school, and potentially, in some cases, a mental health professional, in order to form a team around the child to support them sort of back to school. I think that really is an important point to have schools and families working together. So I guess there are a number of sort of tasks here that parents can be very instrumental towards supporting their child. The child often needs to develop new strategies to manage anxiety, which is often at the core of the experience of children who refuse to school. So their refusal is a sort of a sign that they're not able to manage that anxiety, manage sort of the situation. So the parents sort of advocating to the school and informing the school about what the child is sort of anxious about can be very important. The parents can also be very much involved in supporting the child's use of new techniques, new ways of handling their anxiety about school. And this might be space or time and assistance with, say, developing capacity to relax, or develop new ways of thinking that promote less stress and sort of anxiety about school. The other thing I think that's important that parents can play a role in is keeping up the child's relationship with peers. If they're missing school, they're missing time to connect with, have fun with peers. So keeping up those connections in after-school times and afternoons, I think, is an important thing that parents can sort of enhance. The other key point is that it's very important to listen to kids and teens who are experiencing anxiety. Just make that time just to listen into their experience of the anxiety and acknowledge that it's something that's very real and it's very uncomfortable when they're experiencing high levels of anxiety. And that's hard for them to manage. At the same time, school's too important to miss out on. So the parent is there to help them manage and help them develop those skills and put in the supports that they need. So I guess one thing that's implied in sort of what I'm saying there is I think it's important for parents to be aware that to overcome anxiety, one needs to experience an amount of anxiety. We can't wait with these situations for a child or teen to have completely mastered their capacity to manage anxiety. When they need to have new skills, but we also often need to get on and get things sort of moving. So that's important for parents to understand that with new skills, have to then jump in and look towards commencing or recommencing attendance as soon as possible. I guess that sort of comes back to, to take a different example. If someone's fearful of spiders and the person wants to change that, at some point they're going to have to face a spider. And I guess what we say is, sooner rather than later. Bearing in mind that sometimes kids and teens need a little bit of support, a little bit of practice at developing those anxiety management sort of skills. Parents, I think, can also play an important role when it comes to the morning before school and the evening and before school nights, the Sunday nights where the anxiety can sort of jump out. And think about what needs to be done to create a calm household, a calm morning. What needs to be organised? Do we have to make sure siblings are not in the bathroom at once so there's a big fight? Breakfast, lunches, have we got the school bag packed? Some of those very practical things, if they can be sort of taken care of, there's less stress in the morning. Then also working with schools, I think parents can be real advocates for their kids in working with the school on a plan for school return. And this includes when the child is expected at school, what we're going to be doing at school, what supports are available. Kids with anxiety tend to like a sense of control and certainty when they're coming back into school after time missed. What am I expected to do? How am I going to do the work because I've missed so much? What support will be available there? So these are things that parents can sort of raise. The final point I think that parents can do to support and assist their child is to get their own support as well. Look after themselves. That's really important. This is a very big challenge for most parents when their child is refusing school. So I really encourage parents to seek their own support, whatever form that takes. For some, that's with a mental health professional. For others, that's going to the gym. For others, it's connecting with their sister or cousin for some support there. Whatever that might sort of look like, encourage parents to do that. Because what we know is if parents are travelling along better, they're managing, the kids manage better. Yeah. So I think that's important for parents to sort of acknowledge is doing something for their child by doing something for themselves.
Yeah, really good point. So what can schools do to actually help the parents?
I think there's a lot some schools can also do for this issue. I think for schools, it's important for them to be aware of local resources that can support kids sort of back to school, which services and professionals might be able to assist. I think the other thing schools can do to help kids is have an understanding of the kids' behaviour, to understand what school refusal is. It's not kids being naughty, it's kids finding that they're not able to manage with school because they're anxious by and large. There's often other bits and pieces to it, but having that basic understanding amongst staff collectively, I think, is really important there. So schools, as well as it being important for parents to listen to their kids, it's important for schools to listen to parents and learn from them about the student and discuss things like, well, what would it take for the child to have a successful day at school or a successful start back at school next term? I often find parents have good ideas about this. Well, he's really anxious about his maths, or he's really scared of his teacher. These are the things then schools can then respond to. Schools might be able to provide further assessment of the child and perhaps their educational strengths and challenges. I think schools can also provide a single point of contact for parents. I think that direct communication so the parents are aware this is the person who I'm going to be liaising with about this issue, rather than speaking to a host of people. That coordination, I think, is really sort of important. For schools, they're often involved in creating a plan for school return with families and describing what that might look like. And schools can really do a lot in addressing school-based stresses. So whether that might be, as I mentioned earlier, that difficulty in relationship with the teacher, having a space to settle when really highly aroused and trembling at school, or addressing a bullying issue, or sorting out things amongst the tumultuous peer relationships. Schools can address those sorts of issues. I think the other thing schools can do is acknowledge small gains. Sometimes when students missed amounts of school, it might be a big thing just to get to the car park or just to get in to see the coordinator for an hour. And that needs to be acknowledged. And if we provide the reinforcement to that child and parents, oh, great, it's great to see you. It's wonderful you're back. Keen to work with you on getting to those next steps and supporting you. Those messages of positive reinforcement, I think the schools can easily sort of apply. The other thing that I'm a big believer in is providing opportunities for parents to connect with other parents. Now, I've seen many families where parents think that they're the only parent in the school who's dealing with this problem. And sometimes parents feel ashamed or embarrassed about having a child refusing school. But again, my experience suggests that in most schools there's a handful there. So there might be ways that parents can get some support from other parents who have a child who's struggling, or even a child who's having difficulties with refusal. And I think that can be a great support for parents to know, oh, I'm not the only one. There's others who are struggling with this issue. And I've seen those groups form within schools after giving a talk to a school community, say, around school refusal. So we highlight the issue and parents say, oh, I struggle with that too. And that can provide that sort of sense of shared experience and shared support. So I think there's a lot schools can do there, from connecting parents, understanding the behaviour, and working closely with families to develop effective plans that are customised to the students' needs, working with the parents towards school return.
Yeah. Glenn, how important is it to get the student to be part of the planning for how they're going to come back to school? Because I think sometimes I can feel very much everything's being done to me, and I'm feeling quite powerless anyway. So I'm just interested in your views on getting the young person involved in that. How am I going to return to school, and what will it look like for me, and what do I need, etc.?
Yeah, look, I think it is critical that young people are involved in that. And when working with families, I usually ask the young person, where are we going to start in terms of getting things back to school? And I usually say, I don't really care where we start, but let me know. Let me know what you think. And then it's about sort of moving things forward from there. But yeah, ideally, we're seeing this come from and led by the young person. Of course, in primary school, we need to be, thinking developmentally, and children are getting a lot more support than teens. But I think if the young people are sort of feeling heard, and they have certainly a voice and a say in what that looks like, my sense is that's associated with more success in getting back to school. So the parent can advocate for the child, but also important for the child to have a voice in those discussions with school.
So if those are all successes along the way, and there's a process that, let's get them back part of the way or all of the way. If there is a bit of a backward step, at least you've got that grounding of where, hey, we were successful. This did actually work in the past. Let's build on that again. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think for most students, when they're getting back into school after some time missed, it's a case of 2 steps forward, 1 back. And I think that is important for parents and schools and young people to sort of understand. And bear that sort of in mind. So 1 sort of step backwards isn't a disaster. It's just another step along the journey, if you like, towards sort of getting back into school.
How often would you recommend, say, the team, so parents, the student and the school, and possibly the mental health professional, how often would you recommend that they get together to review how things are going and perhaps then look at tweaks or changes they might want to make to the plan going forward?
Yeah, it's a good question. Is often communication can be very regular between family and school in the early days of getting back in. So it might even be every day, every second day initially. That's a big workload for families and schools. But I like to look at reviewing plans on a weekly basis. And within plans, I think it's can be helpful also, depending on the severity of the problem, to have a backup plan. So today we're aiming to get in and meet with the coordinator at 9:30. Our backup plan is to get up out of bed, put our uniform on, and maybe have a look at some online worksheets or do some reading of the text. So we have increased chances of some success. Otherwise, things, if the goal isn't reached of getting into the school, we still get some gain made that's more guaranteed of success.
Yeah. Glenn, that's been really helpful. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Very welcome.
Thank you to our guest speaker. We hope you enjoyed today's topic. Want to know more about this podcast and other VPC podcasts? Please visit the VPC website, vicparentscouncil.vic.edu.au, and leave a review. We would also welcome you to contact us if you would like to be our guest or if you have a topic around parenting and education. Thank you to Melbourne singer Emma Sidney for her permission to use her soundtrack, Cherish. Until next time, thank you for listening.